Hello, good morning, and welcome. Actually, for some of you, it might be 4 minutes into the afternoon now, and actually, depending on where you're tuning in from, it might even be on the other side of the world from the US. So you might be like 18 hours ahead. And so, very warm welcome to each of you. We have no really super planned agenda for today. This is like the full body sick fix pre-show. So this is an opportunity for you to come and meet with me, ask some questions, for us to get to know each other, to have a great hangout. The big stuff. So the big stuff. I don't have my tech expert here with me in the meeting. I am a little bit techy. I saw someone said they didn't have sound. I still have no sound. Can everybody hear me? Can someone give me a thumbs up? Okay. All right. Okay. Lots of people hear me. Okay. Okay, great. So this is not the full body fix. This is full body fix pre-show. Get to know each other, connect. I would love to get to know each of you in terms of your questions, what you want to achieve, that type of thing, and just have like a really cool Q&A hangout. So some pretty unique. We actually haven't done a format exactly only like this before, but I thought it would be really good for our full body fix participants. Our orthopedic physician will also be joining me here in a bit. He's actually on his way home from the hospital. As is so very common in his schedule, he'll have a last minute emergency surgery. Someone broke their femur. And so that's an urgent surgery that had to be done. So he will be joining us here. And awesome, Cheryl, you got sound. Perfect. Good to see. And so he will be joining us here in a bit. As soon as he gets into his studio for his show, then he'll be joining us as well. So what I would like to start off with is asking you guys, what is it that you want to achieve? Like just, I'm going to keep it pretty open. Sometimes they get pretty refined in these questions, but like, what is it that you're wanting to achieve? Like, what are you up against with fitness? Maybe it's stuff you want to fix or problem areas you'd like to solve. Maybe it's like something you want to achieve. Maybe it's more forward looking, like gaining strength or some kind of fitness capability or health capability. So let me know those things. Let's start with that. And simply you would just go in your Zoom chat, of course, if you're not super familiar with Zoom, you go in the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, click on that little square box, and then strength training with dumbbells. All right. Or our phase 2 VIPs can tell you about that. So Brenda, strength and flexibility. All right. I'm reading the responses here as they come in. Vibration platforms for bone health. We've talked about that quite a bit. I know in our phase 2 Q&A. More flexibility and stamina. Rest, okay. So rest, age-related muscle loss. Okay, so stop and reverse age-related muscle loss. Absolutely, make that happen. Balance after major ankle break. All right. Same as others, want to be able to keep the bones healthy and not have any more osteoporosis problems. Work full time and intend to continue. Awesome. Total flexibility and strength for a 75-year-old. Fantastic. Very good. This is exciting. This is exciting. I love reading these. 77. All right. Wow. Good job, Cheryl. Nice. I'll wait for just a couple more to come in here, and then we'll move on. Any experience with blood pressure 157 for rapid healing? Yeah, I'm gonna let Dr. Garza dive into that one with you when he's online with us here. So what we'll do is I'm gonna So I'll just tell you up front, like I'm going to look at your goals and things you guys want to achieve, and I'm going to share with you, like, okay, how do I see all of those things being achieved? And I'm going to give you some really, of course, unique perspective on the way you think about fitness, the way you think about progress, and kind of like no matter what of all of these goals that I've read here in the chat, that the way you could look at best achieving all of those things. So I'm going to share with you my philosophy on that, and specifically the way I had to deal with that, and the way that I would program that to make that like guaranteed achievable, guaranteed achieved. And then I think after I share a lot of that, I think what we'll do is we'll just open the Q&A. I'll give you an opportunity to raise your hands, and then we'll start like connecting and having actual conversation. And when I have little pauses throughout the meeting here, it's because I'm currently a one-man band running the meeting. Normally I have a whole tech crew that kind of helps and runs and spotlights and does all the other stuff, so I can just speak, but I'm one-man band right now. So sorry, it's BPC, body protective compound. Okay, gotcha. And yeah, and Diane, who's one of our super, very impressive physically VIPs, and she can share with you her experience with that, and so that'd be great. Okay, give me just a second here, and I'd like to share something really kind of eye-opening. One second, and I'm going to. All right. So when we think about fitness, right? Like when you see someone who's really fit, like let's go back in these goals and stuff, and let's think about this. And oh, by the way, I'll at the end of this too, I'll kind of lead in, I'll talk to you a little bit about the full body fix and like what to expect for the five sessions of the full body fix. The full body fix will be very different than what we're doing right now. It's going to be a full on like education, exercises, finding problem areas in your body, fixing those. It'll be a wealth of information. It's absolutely awesome. Everybody that's attended the full body fix has absolutely loved it, got tons of value. So just so everyone understands, that's going to be like a whole an event in itself. It's like this a one-off special thing we're doing today. So if we look at, let's look at these goals again. So like strength training with dumbbells, like obviously your goal is to develop strength, right? And you like working with dumbbells, which is fantastic. Strength and flexibility, vibration platforms for bone health. And for Barbara, like, I don't think you're really that interested in vibration platforms. I think you're interested in bone health, but you've learned that vibration platform can be a really good thing to help you get there. And now you're interested in vibration platforms, right? So usually the goal, it's always about like, what is it that we really want to achieve? And so I think a lot of times people get hung up in like, well, what's the path? Like, what's the pathway to get there? And that is important, of course, like the pathway to get there. But but I try not to get too hung up on like vibration platforms or all strength training or aerobic training. Like, what does the science say in terms of us achieving these kind of results to remove the age-related, negative effects? So the pain, the stiffness, the scar tissue that gets developed, with strength training for many who are especially near and over the age of 50. Because as you get older, you get inflamed easier. And then you break down your tissues easier. So what happens is when you strength train, you actually develop scar tissue instead of new contractile muscle tissue. So, and then that creates actually more stiffness, right? So like, what is the best way to remove? That's the way I think about it. Is like, there's negative results that happen in exercise. It's not all positive. And that's the difficult part, is like, how do we get rid of all the negative and get all the positive? And we're going to talk a little bit deeper about that. So balance after major ankle break. Yeah, I'm like coming back from a balance. So like Eleanor, right? Eleanor writes balance after major ankle break. Well, let's think about that. let's say, and I'm just going to make stuff up here, but let's just say, because it's a perfect example for what I'm going to lead into next, hypothetically speaking, and again, I don't know Eleanor, her image isn't on my screen, so I'm this hypothetical. Let's say Eleanor is really fit, but she's recently broken her ankle and has a major ankle break. Well, the way I would look at it is her ankle is like a totally newbie to fitness and exercise because the tissues are damaged, the area is all protected, even though her body is fit, and that fit body is going to help heal this ankle. But currently those tissues are like at a totally out of shape individual standpoint, right? So we'd want to train that ankle very slow, very methodically, start with mobility exercise and that type of thing, and slowly lead into strength training and that type of thing, right? So let's go forward. All right, so let me share a really interesting graph with you, and then I will go into deeper detail. So when we look at fitness, 1 second here, share. Second, I'm pulling something up on my screen for you here. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Thumbs up. Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. So let's for now, okay. Left side of the screen, right? Net exercise result units. And this is like, we can apply what we're going to talk to here about anything, like anything. So this is like net exercise results. This could be Eleanor gaining lots of neurological connection and stability and mobility and strength in her ankle. This could be the individual that wrote about the dumbbell strength training, like getting amazing results and getting stronger and like rehabbing the shoulders and fixing the hips and back and everything with the whole dumbbell training while getting super functional. It could be increasing bone density. It could be increasing energy, aerobic results. Like just think of like all the fitness results that you could have. That's the net exercise results. So it's kind of like a, open to anything type of scale. So think about it like that, okay? And then along the horizontal axis, we have physical workload. So let's think about that as how much effort or how much actual workload is being put into the exercise. And it could be any exercise. It could be aerobic based. So in other words, like cardio conditioning type of exercise. It could be strength training. This could be mobility exercise. This could be any type of exercise in terms of effort, okay? So understand the horizontal axis is that. Then the next really important thing to understand is where you see adaptation, resistance to fatigue, okay? So what that means is that your body has a certain adaptation to different types of workload, okay? So like, let's go back to take the example of Eleanor. So Eleanor could be really fit. So her adaptation would actually be like way over here, maybe in 7 or 8. But her ankle is currently at this adaptation of only a 2.5 because the tissues have been damaged, it's inflamed, there's all these issues. Or you could take an individual who's a beginning exerciser. So just you can look at their overall fitness level and look at their adaptation. So let's consider let's take a really simple example. Let's take an individual that can lift 20 pounds or 50 pounds for 10 reps, right? Their max would be like 50-pound press for 10 reps. Well, adaptation, so that would be the performance capacity, the 50 pounds for 10 reps. Well, adaptation would be like how much work your body can do before it really starts to break down at all. In other words, before the tissues start to have what we call micro trauma, which is like tissue tears, which is what happens in strength training, and that is a good thing as long as it's controlled. That's like breaking down of your stored fuel sources. That's putting stress and load on the body, which you want to do, right? You want to do that. That's the exercise stimulus. So adaptation is like what your body's already used to, what your body's already accustomed to. So you have to understand like that you have an adaptation for aerobic, you have an adaptation for your hip, for your back, for your ankle, for your shoulder, for your neck, for all of your tissues, you have an adaptation for its strength and its conditioning, right? And so you're going to have a breakthrough in thinking here in a moment, I promise you. So if you understand like what is your body used to doing without having any real level of fatigue, right? So that's what adaptation would be. Performance, again, that's like your max ability, right? So, you know, if maybe for one individual walking a mile, they might just be absolutely exhausted and ready to sit down after walking a mile. For another individual, that might be 10 miles. So that would be like their performance capacity. Fatigue state training is where you push it so far, no matter what work you do. And 1 second, Dr. Garza just joined me here, so I'm going to give him, actually bring him in the meeting. Okay, so fatigue state training is like where you push yourself so much that no matter what you do, it's going to be a breakdown. There's no positive results going to come from that anymore, okay? So that's basically what fatigue state training is. So what I want you to understand next is that all exercise results begin with breaking your body down. Exercise, unlike how most individuals think, they see someone that's really fit and they say, oh, wow, do you exercise like 4 or 5 hours a day? And occasionally the individual is an elite professional athlete or Olympic athlete or endurance athlete, and that may sometimes be the case. But usually no, best health results, they don't exercise that much. Why? Because exercise and fitness and strength training and mobility and regaining your bone density and developing balance and ankle strength and all of those things, it all begins with negative breakdown, stress, load applied to your body. And it's that stimulus that creates your body's having to come back and get stronger cells, better energy, more resistance to fatigue. And that is why exercise, as I see it, is as crucial as going to the bathroom. You can't stop doing it. And actually, it becomes way more important than when you're in your 20s, because now beyond the age of 50, your body gets faced with you're either going to use it or you're going to lose it. There's a lot of truth to that statement. You use it or you lose it. But don't just use it like a you know, for me to use slang, like a knucklehead, right? Like just like a gym rat type of person where you just push yourself because to just put. Let's look at it that you do the perfect thing, right? Because you can see that the negative results as you get past your adaptation and you get towards performance, you get a ton of negative results to the point that you start to begin creating scar tissue. You overstress your immune system. The immune system is required to recover from exercise. It's actually an immune system that repairs cells and structures from exercise damage. So if you do too much of it, you can actually get more colds, more flus, more propensity to have COVID, like all of those things, because you're overstressing your body with exercise. So that's where exercise begins, is in the negative exercise, the breakdown. Then what you'd want to look at next, oops, let me go back a slide. What you look at next is the positive. So we looked at the negative, then here's what the positive would look like. So as soon as you get up off the couch over here at this corner and you start to move a little bit, you already start to get some increased oxygenation in your blood cells, that type of thing. You start to get some more effect and a livelihood in your body, basically. But as the negative impact and all the negative stressors that are placed on the body, as that starts to compound, you start to spike in your positive results. So now think about this for a moment, and I'll come back to the slide in a moment. So think about this. Most people, when they go to exercise, especially men, women are smarter than men, right? We all know that. Most men, when they go to exercise, and what do? They go and they usually try to do what they can do because they're men. Like, they're more gruff. I'm going to do what I can do. So if I can lift 20 pounds for 10 reps, I'm going to lift 20 pounds for 10 reps. And I learned in that muscle magazine that when you get fatigued, that's where all the results come. And although there's some truth to that, there's a lot more to think about than that, right? So now let's look back at the slide here and think about that. So when we start to do that as a newbie, right? This is an individual who is beginning exercise within 0 to 6 months. So they're not really adapted to that exercise, or their ankle is not adapted to motion at this time, right? You can look at it as whole body, you can look at it individual body parts, you can look at it in a lot of different ways, but it's the same perspective no matter how you look at that. Okay. So if you take what you can do and you do that in exercise as a person who doesn't have a ton of exercise experience, you're going to play over here where you're actually not in the peak results. And you're not going to be able to do a lot of repeated bouts of exercise and get a lot of results, because that additional bouts, in other words, if you do this once a week, then you'll recover and you'll get a lot of positive results. But if you do this like 4 or 5 times a week, now you're going to start getting into going up this negative line, and you're going to start dropping your positive results, right? So the key is, as a beginning exerciser, you want to play around in this range where if this is performance capacity, this is adaptation, this is like 50% effort. So what I just said is you only have to apply like 50% effort, or 10% past what is easy for you, 10% past what's easy for you as a beginner to get amazing results. That's strength, that's bone density, that's ankle stability, that's more energy, endurance, like whatever you want to apply it to, it's the same thing. All you need to do is apply 10% past what you're used to. But here's the key. Because you're not overstressing your body, you can do this more often. And so the way exercise works is like this. If you do a bout, right, as a session or whatever you'd like to call it, a bout of exercise, after the exercise, you're going to begin to recover. So if you play in this range and you keep that bout of exercise from overstressing your body, or in this range, then you recover even just 12 hours. Well, you can exercise again and you get more opportunities to get more positive exercise results. That means more muscle, more bone density, more balance, more neurological training, more health, more energy. So what this is saying is it's more important to see where you're at, know what your fitness level is, and never go past what your past about 10% of what your current moderate easy is. That is really per types of training. But you should do strength training. You should do aerobic training. You should do mobility training. You should do all those different types of training so that you can get results on the strength perspective, on the aerobic perspective, on the mobility perspective, right? And so that is the secret sauce to fitness, is to completely change the paradigm and understand that fitness results in every aspect start with negative results or breakdown to the body, that we don't want to take it too far, because we have this sweet spot of amazing, huge positive results with very little breakdown. And then we can keep being physically active on a near daily basis. That is the secret sauce. If you do that, right? But the big question that's coming, and that's how. Well, okay, well, how? Like, what strength training should I do? What mobility should I do? That's the big question. But first, we have to understand this, because I'm a big believer in why. If I give you a big enough why, then you'll go after it and you'll make that result happen, because you understand it, you grasp it, you're connected with what you need to do, and you want to achieve that. Okay, so now for fun, a lot of people think too, if you go from, I'm going to stop share, then I'll go back to you. So a lot of people also think that if you go from moderate fitness to high fitness, wow, that person's really a lot more healthy. Well, unfortunately, for those of us who really do have high fitness level, yeah, you can get some more health results, but you can also get a lot more actually negative health results by being in a pinnacle of physical condition. You're more likely to get injured because of repeated tissue stress. you get sick more often, potentially because you're overstressing your immune system by being in that peak physical condition. So I know some of the most elite athletes in the world, right? And they're friends of mine, and like their body and what they put it through is so stressed. But oftentimes those elite level athletes, by the time they're in their 50s, 60s and beyond, their body's so broken down from what they did before. And it's because of those negative exercise results. So going from like moderately high fitness level to elite, not really much additional health results, and usually more negative health results. But when you go from unfit, unstable ankle, not dumbbell strength trained enough shoulders and body and all, like you're not fit, you're just doing a walking program, well, you got a lot to improve for like mobility and strength and all these other things you could add. Or if you're just doing yoga, you could gain a lot of more strength, you could gain a lot more conditioning, so taking it, or the individual is just a couch potato, right? If you're going from that low level of fitness in these aspects of fitness and coming up to moderate high is a huge improvement in fitness, but also a huge improvement in health, because fitness does not always equal health, because there's health detriments that happen in the pursuit of fitness. So let's go back to this briefly, and let's look at going from beginner. Okay, so we've been talking about for the last 10-15 minutes here about beginner and like how all that looks. Same principles apply, but the graphic spans. Here's what happens. When you go from beginner to intermediate, now you have like 6 to 18 months experience in the type of fitness you're doing. Then your negative results don't happen why? It's because of this. It's because your body got adapted. Your body's more adapted to breaking down the tissues. Your body's more resilient. It's more resistant to being energy depleted. It's more resilient to having the tissues broken down. The immune system, you're literally strengthening your immune system, your neurological system, everything in your body. Your cells develop more what's called mitochondria, which is the thing in the cell that is the powerhouse of the cell that produces energy. All these your brain health, you literally grow new neurons. All these things happen from you just going from low level fitness to intermediate. Those negative results don't happen as easily because your body becomes so adapted, and that's the amazing thing about your body, the human body. And so your adaptation grows, and because of that, now you can push yourself further, and of course your performance improves in all aspects that you work on. So now you have this huge arc of positive results that you can play in, but here's what you can do, right? In other words, like the most you can do, right? So if you're lifting 30-pound dumbbells for 12 reps, right? Instead of 20-pound dumbbells for 10 reps, now you're doing 35-pound dumbbells for 12 reps. But your adaptation here is now at about a 66%, 65% level of your performance. So think about that. Like if you have a tissue that's tight and is not mobile, do you want to like stretch the heck out of it? No, because if that tissue is not used, then you're going to get into negative results. You're going to overstretch. No, you need to do a little bit on a daily basis. Keep doing it. Be really consistent, and then you make results. Same thing. Okay, aerobic training. Okay, you feel your energy is low. You don't have good aerobic conditioning. What do? You start doing moderate exercise, feel good exercise, but you do it really consistently. What happens? You have this drastic increase in your adaptation, and then you can get even more positive results. Okay, if we look at bone, let's look at bone density. That's a big interest for all of our people, right? Bone density. Your bone density is low. It's not really used to being stressed. You do the right type of strength training, the right type of load and pressure, and you have the right nutrition. So what starts to happen is you keep that really consistent. You play it safe, but you do it very consistent, and boom, your bone density increases. You increase the structural integrity of your body. So you can apply this to anything. So a few things I want you to take away is understanding it's more about being consistent and intelligently consistent than anything else. life transformation if you're intelligently consistent. So that's really what fitness looks like to me, right? And we have the big question of how, right? We're going to talk about how now. So then we go advanced. So advanced, you don't gain that much. So basically, if we look like here, performance was like 12 and a half, adaptation's like 7.5, performance jumps to 15, and adaptation went from 7.5 to like 10. So you gain some improvement, but nothing that looks like beginner to intermediate. So what happens with advanced individuals, though, when they start pushing themselves too much, you can get more scar tissue. In the negative, because you're pushing the negative line so far, you can get things like atrial fibrillation, irregular heartbeat, scar tissue, all kinds of like pretty serious health effects can happen from overstressing or overtraining the body. So that's the way that I see, like, that's my philosophy on exercise. And it's not just my philosophy. Basically, if we took like 50 years of exercise physiology and biomechanics research, that's what it says. So I basically just gave you 50 years of exercise physiology and biomechanics research, basically in the last 20 minutes or so. So I know the big question, okay, well, how? Like, how do I do that? How much do I do that? How much aerobic? It starts from your adaptation. So, if we have 20 people in this meeting, we have 20 different ideal starting points, but to not make it like too complex, and this needs to be doable, right? Because if I give you like the best answer in the world, and it's also the most complex answer in the world, you're not going to do it. So I need to give you the easiest way that's science-based. So anything you're going to be working on, just think about it as, what am I used to? What's easy? And then go 10% more. That's it. That's it. Like that's all you really need to do to start getting going, and you kind of keep thinking about that. Now, one of the things that we do, we don't do this in the full body fix, but we do this after the full body fix. And that is, we have something called your optimal physiological dosage. So each individual has their own like low, moderate, and high intensity of which you should exercise. You have, in other words, in terms of your effort, like low for one individual might be like 25 or 30% effort. Low for another might be like 40% effort, because of all that stuff you just learned. Those things fluctuate. Moderate for one individual might be like 50% effort, like whatever. Like if you're pushing yourself and you're thinking, how much do I feel like on a 0 to 100% effort scale? 50% effort for moderate. For some people, 65 for another. High intensity for one individual might be like 70%, or another might be 85 or even 90% of what they feel like in terms of effort. That could be like a stretch without pain, without being, a little common sense goes a long way. Aerobic exercise, how much volume you're doing. Strength training, how much weight you're lifting. So the physiological perspective is like how much you're doing, how much stress you're putting on your body in terms of effort and energy. So the best way to think about it is just 10% past comfortable. So if you think about your aerobic activity, like what aerobic, because you should do aerobic, which is like your energy and drawing in oxygen to produce energy, that's aerobic. Then you should do strength, which uses different fuel sources and stuff, and uses actually different muscle fibers in your body, which are really important to keep strong and healthy as we age. So you actually have two major different types of muscle fibers. One that do more endurance type activity, and two that do more strength or heavy type of activity. Well, a lot of our ladies are exposed to osteoporosis. Some of our men too, but more so with the ladies. And so it's really important you use your fast twitch muscle fibers, the muscle fibers that lift the heavier weights. And heavy for who? Heavy for me? No. Heavy for you on your scale and all the stuff we just went through, right? And if you use those fast twitch muscle fibers in strength training, your bone density is going to increase, your muscle fibers is going to increase. So that's important. Also, mobility is important. The way our tissues are aligned, if you have connective tissue or tissues that are restricted or pulling you out of place, it's important to know where that's happening and to align that part of your body. So really you got three major perspectives: aerobic conditioning, strength, and then mobility. All right, and to not get too complex, Those are the three major categories. There's some deeper levels of how we can look at it, but that's basically the three areas you want to work on. So in the full body fix, and oh, by the way, the perfect amount of like aerobic, the perfect amount of strength and alignment and all these things, it starts with one thing. And that one thing is learning how to biomechanically optimize your body. And what biomechanical optimization is basically exactly what it sounds like. It's learning how to align, hold, maintain, and put stress and loads on your body in a very aligned way so that your pelvis is sitting in the right position when you add load and stress to your body, that your spine is aligned, that your neck is aligned, that your shoulders and the function and the movement of everything is totally aligned. Because if you do exercise in a non-aligned way, what can happen is even though you're in an intermediate or advanced level, like on the graphs I showed you, you could be in the kind of the new area, so to speak, of like the beginner in terms of getting stressed too easily. Why? Because your body is in a position that gets negative results easier because there's excessive stress to the joints. The tissues are being pulled out of alignment of which they're designed for. And now you get breakdown easier. So the key to getting amazing exercise results starts with what I taught you first, but then also when you do exercise, it needs to be biomechanically optimal. Because if you do exercise with proper alignment and positioning and you use your tissues in an ideal way, you can push that spectrum of stimulus on your body without getting too much negative results. Whereas an individual who kind of, they have this kind of posture and they're rounded forward, well, that's changing the entire alignment of the shoulder and the neck. So when they go to strength train and load, the negative result line is going to shoot up really fast because they're going to get grinding in the joints and excessive stress in the tissues. And so they never get to really play in the positive result, which is why fitness over 50 can be really difficult. First of all, you got to have the motivation to do it and like want to do it. Then you got to have the right physical structure, and it's easier to get injured. It's easy because of that old back injury or ankle injury or hip injury. The tissues are aged, they break down easier, they get inflamed easier. So the solution to all of that is really having the right amount of load and stress, like the graphs I showed you, and then biomechanically optimizing, doing everything in perfect alignment. Okay, so how? So in the full body fix, we start to teach you how to a big detail on an introductory level. So we teach you feet and ankles in the first session. In the second session, we teach you knees and hips. In the third session, we teach you pelvis and low back and upper back. And then we teach you in the fourth session, shoulders and neck. In the fifth session is like a special breakthrough, what we call breakthrough strategy session. But we teach you all of that, like thinking about your body and your alignment and functionality. That's what we teach you in the full body fix. So I'll give you literally 4+ hours of like how to do that for each area of your body. And then the other thing is that at the full body fix, you learn about how to become a VIP. So in their last session, you get to learn about how to become a VIP, which is what we call a very important person who becomes very impressive physically. And so that's our like client training, our VIP client training services. And that's where I instruct you and my experts watch you and they coach you and work with you and guide you and meet with you and basically support you into the best possible physical condition you could be in along the lines of biomechanical optimization and staying away from all those negative results and getting the most positive results. So now it's time I should stop presenting and I should connect with you. Any attendees that would like to connect with me, have questions, I would love to connect with you. And Diane, if I can put you on the spot, I'll tell you up front, I'm gonna call on you. Just I'm sure you have something interesting to say, and it's good to see you. So if nothing else, I'll say hi. I'll bring you up here with me in a moment. And while you're thinking about what you might say, I'm going to make Dr. Garza a co-host. And Dr. Garza, also to give you a heads up, I'm going to bring you up on the screen with me. There he is, the beautiful Dr. Garza. Hey, buddy. And then good to see you.
Hi, Robbie, and hi. Really nice to see you.
So, so how was the surgery?
Everything went well. So, can you hear me okay? Is everything? Yeah, okay. So yeah, the surgery was really well. So, just I don't want to like explain a lot. It was a woman that is 75 years old. She had a hip fracture 3 months ago, which had surgery. Then she fell down again and broke again the fracture with the intramedullary nail. So we have to, put a hip replacement. So that's why I was a little late. So I'm sorry for everyone. The surgery went well. Thanks for asking. The patient is doing amazing. And well, just want to say hi to everyone. I'm Dr. Garza, and I'm an orthopedic surgeon in Mexico. And also one of your specialties, I'm going to be with all of you, in the program. We're going to be connected through WhatsApp, chatting in the sessions. You can see me, you can ask Diane. We love to have a lot of questions, and all the VIPs, especially the experienced VIPs, they start to just bombard us with a lot of interesting questions, and that makes it much better. The fact that we can, just not, like go to the session and do exercise, but you can learn. And also you can teach us, because sometimes, you ask some of the questions and sometimes we're like, I don't know, I don't have the answer. So let me check it out. We learn together. So yeah, it is a really pleasure to be here with you. And Robbie, really nice to thank you for us letting me and inviting me into the sessions. And well, if you have any questions or anything, please, come bring them back up.
Yeah, and I love having the perspective from an orthopedic physician on our team. What we do is fitness, but if you really think about it, there's, in everything I just shared with you, there's an orthopedics foundation to everything you do in fitness. Like, you have to use your body mechanics to get fitness results. And if your body mechanics are off, you're going to end up with negative results. So Dr. Garza serves the role of connecting with our VIP clients in terms of injuries and special issues, medical conditions, and solving all of those kind of problems. So we have a very elite team of different specialities, and he's our orthopedic. So you have him here with you. If you have any questions for me specifically or Dr. Garza, definitely get those ready. We're going to go to that section of our meeting here next. But I'm going to bring up our lovely Diane next. She is a VIP, so she's an individual who's gone through the full body fix, became a VIP, and has now been with us for like a year or so. So good to see you, Diane.
Oops, did I unmute? Am I good? All right. Well, I came on this session. I've been in that, in the earlier session, and it's very small, and I miss you guys. Because it's just, and don't get me wrong, I love Lupita. She's wonderful. But we've had like 3 and 4 people in our early morning sessions, and so it's been so small. But anyway, it's really wonderful to see you guys. And also, yep, I'm closing in on a year. And just everything that you said resonated with me, because I've been on that journey. I've done all those things that you were talking about from, I came into the program, a pretty athletic background, fitness background, but I have learned so much, and there's so much more to learn about retraining, the neuromuscular retraining. That has been really an important aspect for me. And I'm really now 1 year later starting to see, I think, a lot of the benefits, even though I've had injury along the way. So what Robbie spoke to, where you start you're improving, so you add a little bit more intensity. And I ended up with a pretty significant tear in my glutes, but I do have some prior injuries. However, that said, the Dr. Garza, I did an online, chat with him. I mean, the coaches are all fantastic, and they were guiding me the whole way. And, it's not only a physical, but the mental side. It's like, this is like a big family. You'll find as you start doing this, you share with other people, you see what other people ask, you learn from them. And it's really, it draws you back in, because it's not only about just an individual doing fitness. And even some days when you might not feel that you want to do this, you're drawn in because of the wonderful feedback that you get, and just the kind of the social aspect and the support that you get. So I don't even know, I could go on and on and on ad nauseum, just saying all the wonderful things that have occurred. But 1 year in, a lot of improvement, and I've learned things about myself. I'm a person that tends to probably overdo. So I've learned, and I continue to learn moderation in what I do. That's been wonderful. And as we age, I was getting some of the more negative results, a lot of inflammation, soreness, those types of things. And I'm still learning. However, it's gotten, consistently better. And while that's gotten better, I feel like I've still gotten, I don't know if stronger is really the word, but healthier in general. When you put all the aspects together and you continue to learn about yourself and what you can do as you age, and all the other little things that kind of creep in that we talk about, everything from, nutrition to, hormonal changes, everything. Just, it's been amazing. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, unless you have any other specific questions. I will say the BPC 157, I did do that. I went through, I had a knee injury. My knee was breaking down. I went through PRP treatments, and in doing so, I was using BPC 157. It was advised by the doc that did my procedure, and I saw great success with that. So Dr. Garza, I'm sure you have other things to say about it, but the two things, there was a BPC 157, it was a peptide, and then I did a thing called Frag 4, which is really kind of I'm not sure if I'm going to get that right, it's a thymic peptide. And that helped me immensely. So someone had just asked a question about it. So that's my experience with it. I don't know if there's any other specific questions, but I'm sure you can speak to that. I'll be quiet now.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, much love to you. And yeah, it's been an amazing journey together. Exactly. Yeah, one of the things that Diane mentioned, which was neuromuscular retraining, that's really what we do, because everything that you do, like your tissues don't function on their own. It begins with really here, so upstairs, and then through the spinal cord, and then the motion into the body. So even your mobility, like your tissue restriction, it has to do with the actual tissue, but it also has to do with the neurological system's program for how much range of motion it should allow and the way that your body moves. So what we do is we neurologically retrain your body for ideal movement and mechanics, and then that gets programmed into the muscle tissue, so that the muscle tissue and the connective tissue, tendons, ligaments, all the receptors and signals, the way your body works, it all gets reprogrammed to be within alignment and proper functionality. That's what we do. And the full body fix, again, for all of you that are registered for the full body fix, that's where we start doing that. And we do that for free to begin with, and to literally teach you detail from foot all the way to head, and like how to do that. So please get your questions ready if anyone has questions. We did have a question in the chat earlier, before you joined, Dr. Garza, about VPC 157. So VPC 157 patches, sprays, or injections. I'm trying to look back and see what the question originally was in the chat. Any experience with BP 157 for rapid healing? That was, yeah, that was good. Sorry.
Hey, Robbie, your mic, just want to tell you, this mic is a little bit off. Maybe, I don't know, you sound like a little far.
Better now?
No, the same.
How about now?
Well, yeah, perfect.
Okay.
Awesome. So yeah, what do you ask? You know, if with my experience with BP 57, to be honest, I haven't used it. I have used a lot of times PPR. That is, you know, that is something that is common with us. Usually, a lot of medications that are like not specific, is not like an anti-inflammatory drug, but it's more how you say it, so collagen. You have proteins. You have all these things that help you for the body to heal better, to have all these nutrients. So they always help, you know, in a sense that if your body is lacking any of these substances, then if you replace it, then you can get more benefits because your body is able to grab all these nutrients and get it, you know, to specifically where it needed. You know, if you're having some cartilage disease, so you have degenerative arthritis, and then you have, you know, the cartilage is getting thinner, you have inflammation in your joints, so I take some collagen, I take some chondroitin, you know, all these nutrients that help with the cartilage, then the body is going to be able to, you know, okay, so I grab all these nutrients and I'm able to heal or try to, you know, to get better that tissue that is getting some injury. The same happens with muscle, the same happens with the tissue, with the ligaments. So yeah, definitely, you know, all these nutrients that you may need, that sometimes we don't realize because we don't have this such amazing or such perfect, you know, like nutrition. You're not getting everything balanced, or sometimes our body, as we start to get, you know, older, we start to age, maybe it's not able to grab all these nutrients as efficient, you know, as it was before. So yeah, definitely all those nutrients, they so I have, in Mexico, we don't have that specific one, so I've never used it. But I do recommend a lot of the patients, especially, you know, that they want to do exercise, that they always take some of these nutrients to help and have the body everything that it needs to heal better. And that is something, you know, that Robbie just was talking about, how we have the negative effects and all that is very important, because also as we age, the body becomes more clumsy to heal. So maybe, you know, when you were 20, you did a lot of exercise, maybe you have some pain 1-2 days and you were like, oh, okay, I'm good, I'm gonna do it again. But now as we go over 50, you do exercise and then you have this soreness for the whole week and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna do exercise anymore. So that is one of the side effects as we age, that the body gets a little bit more clumsy. Thus we definitely need some of that. And, you know, the prevention, or you know, don't pass too much because the body is not able to. So yeah, definitely, you know, those types of exercise, the medications, I totally approve them.
Diane, I noticed that you had your hand. Was there something else you wanted to share?
With regard to neuromuscular retraining, I thought it might be helpful to mention, you know, for me personally, I have 4 joint replacements. So I have 2 shoulder joint replacements, both shoulders and both hips. And my hips were a result of a congenital dysplasia that I did not know about. So, so that said, when we talk about neuromuscular retraining, I was having a lot of difficulty with nerve issues in my arms and shoulders. I was, you know, losing strength, and really concerned about all that, and a lot of pain to the point where sometimes I wouldn't sleep well. it referred down, I had like impingement in my shoulder. Okay, so neuromuscular retraining, getting those shoulders into the proper place, it's taken me it's taken me a year. I'm finally seeing the fruits of the labor of this class, of this course, to where I get it now, and it's a whole different thing, and I'm out of pain. I've gained strength. I'm comfortable, and it's just it's an amazing thing. So, you know, I encourage you to think about that. If you know, injuries and things of that nature, it really does make an immense difference. So I wanted to share that because, yeah, I just think it's important to know, again, as we age, any injuries, things of that nature. There's always hope. You can turn things around. You can feel better as you age. So.
Thank you, Diane. Yeah, that's awesome. Love the motivation. That's awesome. And so I would like to turn opportunity over to other attendees. I would love to bring you up on our Zoom stage and connect with us. You can write in the chat and we can respond. It's a whole lot more fun if we talk, but not everybody likes to do that, and I respect that. So if you'd like to write any questions in the chat, we can answer those. But we prefer to actually speak with you. So how do you do that? How can you can simply turn your camera on and do this. We'll know you want to chat with us, or officially you can use the Zoom tools. Go to the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. So that's why you see like the microphone and the video camera image and like the stuff on the bottom Zoom toolbar, and click on reactions. And when reactions opens, which is like a smiley face with the plus sign on the head, there'll be on the bottom, it says raise hand. When you click that, you're going to see that hand raised like this here. So we'll hang out based on how many questions we have here. And while we're waiting for those participants, and Graham had a question both in the chat. Now he's raised his hand. Great. So we'll bring you up on the Zoom stage with us and give you a link to unmute there. And you saw his question, Dr. Garza, in the chat. Okay.
Hey, hi guys.
Hello.
I'm over the other side of the world at the moment. It's
Awesome.
nearly 6 o'clock in the morning, but we're here. I have had cardiac concerns for various reasons, and I have a particularly low ejection fraction that it's continuing to get lower, and I want to try and prevent that from getting to a point where I can't get out of bed. I'm quite active. I want to know whether or not because cardiac muscle is particularly specialized, how easy is it to get a recovery here or an increase in strength in cardiac muscle compared to skeletal muscle? Is it a sort of thing that can work with you using aerobics and those sorts of techniques?
Okay, sorry, Graham, that is a great question. So yeah, I don't want to, go way over explaining a lot of things, but there's something very important. The heart muscle and the muscles, there are two very different structure and they work very different. So yeah, definitely, how to work one or the other is way different. If you want to work on muscles, so you have to carry heavy weights because the muscle is gonna get bigger. If you want to work on heart, you don't have to be heavy. You have to work the cardiac to get the heartbeat faster. But definitely, and it all has to do with how, histologically speaking, how the structure of both of the muscles are made. But there is one very different, or big difference: the heart never stops working, so it's always working. And the muscle, you can definitely lose muscle if you don't do any exercise at all. The way that we can strengthen our heart is by definitely doing aerobic exercises, because by doing aerobic, what we're doing is forcing the heart to push the blood faster and forcing the heart to get a little bit bigger and then squish, bigger and squish. But it has to do all that. If we put a lot of resistance and we have, if we can put it like, if we put a lot of pressure in the peripheral tissue, the heart has to pump stronger because there is more resistance on the outside of the heart. So that is one of the things, that we say, if you have some heart attack, heart conditions, the best thing will be to, lose weight, because that way we reduce how much tension is at the periphery of the body. And definitely, if we do exercise with not too much weight, but movement, so it's, like, okay, I'm doing some resistance band, I'm doing some strength exercise. What I'm doing is I'm pushing the veins, so I'm pushing the blood with my muscles. That way the heart doesn't have to work too much. Why? Because the muscle is helping the heart at the same time. So, in a sense, it's not like you have to train, you can make your heart stronger by, some specific exercise. What you do is your whole body more efficient to making the heart to be more efficient. So is instead of, like pumping 1 liter of blood in one squeeze, it pumps 2 liters, because the heart is able to be more efficient. And you take away all that excess tension, or, like high blood pressure from outside, from the periphery, by making the muscles more efficient on how they can move the blood around. So that is one of the things, that if you do exercise, and not only cardiac, like aerobic exercise, but you also train and make the whole body more efficient, you're able to help your heart to not do, too much effort. But as a heart condition, you're like, okay, can I get my ejection volume or my ejection, like, to get more stronger? Usually, that is something that you don't get by exercise. What you can do is prevent from getting it lower. And definitely, as we start to reduce the tension from the periphery, so if the muscle gets better, then definitely, the heart it has to work less. So it doesn't, the progression or the disease doesn't get more, or doesn't, it gets lower on how much it progresses. So usually that is, the idea. I don't know if that answered the question.
I do, very much so. Yeah, I've done the 20 kilos loss to start with, so that's in 12 months. But I'm looking to take the next step, if you like, and the little things like the blood pressure was being managed by medication. And you add that to a few other things happened. And anyway, I had a couple of setbacks, but I'm keen to progress as much as I can.
Perfect. That is, that is going to definitely exercise helps you a lot. But you're just like Robbie was saying, you have to be careful, because if you try to go too much and force the heart more, then definitely we can see some negative results. So that is one of the things that we have to go little by little, slower, into getting the body to adapt to this new condition where the heart is not as strong as it was before. So we definitely want to make it go a little by little into the position where you're comfortable, you're healthier, and the heart doesn't have to work too much. But if you overexceed it, the heart may have this like, okay, that was enough, I'm not able to compete. But yeah, that is the whole goal, is to get the muscle stronger. That way the heart has to work a little bit less.
Okay, because I'm trying to relate that to those graphs that you've put up there, Robbie. See how you relate that to the cardiac muscle and the aerobic type exercise. What's more comfortable and such like.
Instead of going out and trying to do one big bout of exercise or push yourself, think like, what would you ideally like to achieve? And you might not be able to do that in one bout, but if you split that in half, for example, walking 2 miles, is that difficult? Is that something like, I couldn't really walk 2 miles, right? Which is about 3 kilometers roughly, right? So I really, that might be difficult right now for you to do in one bout, right? Is that difficult for you to do with continual walk?
I'm not a walker as such. I'm still working full time. So I do a lot of working whilst I'm at work. I got my pedometer on there, and I do my 10,000 steps, 10,000 steps, sorry, and
That's good.
try and
That's
get that in every day. But and during the weekends, I'm fairly active doing stuff around like lawns and house maintenance and that sort of thing, but it's constant.
good.
So there's activity, not necessarily walking as such. A lot of mobility one way or another.
So one thing I'd recommend for you to do is water. Like, you know, it might be really cold right now or not. I don't know where you live, but find a pool that you can exercise in. You don't have to necessarily swim, right? Like swimming is great, but that like you can do 100+ different exercises in the water and not need to necessarily swim. So, but motion, constant motion. You can run in place and you can pump your arms. You can do kicks and hold yourself on a step. There's many things. You can walk through the water, moving your arms, and you just keep the motion going. So I would suggest you do water and do an actual bout of exercise. And just like I shared with my graph, like what is easy, go 10% past. Start with that. See how you feel. Do like every other day, so it's not too repeated. See how you feel, and then slowly start stepping that up by about a 5 to 10% increment. That's going to increase the peripheral. So the venous return. What Dr. Garza is really alluding to is the importance of venous return. And so water exercise is one more element that's going to really help you with that venous return and decrease the effect on the joints and stuff. So it's going to keep it easy for you.
Yeah, I'm fortunate enough to have my own pool. But,
oh, perfect. There you go.
And I'm very jealous of my wife, who spends an hour in the pool every day. And I'm not going to do that. Nah, yes, now I'm going to.
That's the first thing I do. Most mornings, the first thing I do is I go out in our pool and do laps and different motions and actually that's the first, and then see the sun, get in the pool, do motion. That's the first thing I do most mornings. Yeah. So it's great.
I'll aspire for that. Thank you.
Awesome. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome, Graham. Cheers, mate.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Cheryl, you are up next. Hello and warm welcome to you. One moment.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes, perfect.
I have exercise issues. When I was a piano major in college, and I chipped and ruptured a disc in my neck and had to give up the piano. My orthopedic surgeon did not want to operate because he said I was too young, which and after about 4 or 5 years of intense pain, I have high pain threshold. So fortunately, I do have high pain threshold because I have low blood pressure. And if I were on, which explains why if you give me sedatives, I'm knocked out. So that is not healthy. So I did recover from that. And I was a piano major. I had to learn to sing. So that was very traumatic. In 2000, I was able to play the piano again, and I played keyboard for the church. I broke the ball of my shoulder, and I have a plate and two metal screws in there because I thought I could walk uphill on ice with Uggs instead of putting the cleats on. I tend to be very adventuresome. I'm a full-time real estate broker. I'm 77. I take no medicines at all. I don't have to, but I also take a lot of supplements, and I believe in that very much. And I try to nurture my body correctly, but I'm a little scared when I broke the ball of the shoulder, and then of course I have osteoporosis, which I'm not taking that medicine because I tried and it made me very, very sick. And I've had bad experience with medicine because from Thanksgiving to Easter, I was given all these antibiotics for the flu in '98, and I have still not got my stomach the way it ought to be. So when I broke the ball of the shoulder, I did a whole series of exercises because I would not be able to raise my arm up. I did it all summer and it was very beneficial. And so I know exercise works. But then I joined a gym and had training. And unfortunately, I pushed too hard. And so I'm off of that. I tried water aerobics, but because of the high pain threshold, I don't seem to know when to stop until I screwed it up. So that's what I'm hoping to find and to find that tipping point you're talking about, because I've got to have exercise. It's necessary. And I think I intend to be, I come from a long line of health. I mean, as far as longevity, but I intend, my best it hasn't even hit, and I don't intend to slow down unless I'm forced to. So.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Cheryl. Thank you for sharing that. So yeah, so the tipping point. So the best way to approach that is focusing on your biomechanical optimization first, which basically means keeping your body in alignment, making sure you really master the motion, looking at all of the ranges of motion to the actual degree that surround that joint, right? And other related joints and body areas. So like that's really the key, is like having perfect alignment, looking at your mobility, making sure you have range of motion and neurological control first. Like that's the key. And like, forget about load, forget about fatigue, like forget about strength training results for now, because they'll be so much better later if you look at it that way. Right.
Okay.
So then once you've mastered the mobility and the alignment, then you slowly stair step into the load. Whereas most of us humans kind of look at it as like, okay, I'm going to get in, I want to be stronger, so I'm going to push and do more. And then we end up like, no. It's the mechanical optimization. Like, you'd be better off doing no load and like mastering the motion of moving your shoulder. And like, once you master, okay, then put a 1 ounce weight in your hand and do, okay, then put a 2 in, and like keep the mastery of the mechanics, and then see how far you can take the mastery of the mechanics. And when the load or the resistance starts to like, oh, that was heavy, and then you're doing this type of stuff, which changes and creates impingement. Okay, that was too heavy. Like, so it's always the mastery of the mechanics first, and then the load second. And where we run into trouble is when we try to get the fatigue ahead of the mechanics. Because remember, the consistency in exercise is going to produce such a profound effect that we don't have to go into that like, oh, it's not going to be enough, so I need to add more load. Like, it's more about the fatigue and effort of the mechanics optimization than it is about the load. So just that would teach in session 4 of the full body fix, you're going to learn a ton about shoulder mechanics and neck mechanics, cervical, and that's going to help you a lot. Becoming a VIP would help you 100 times more, but you're going to learn a lot in session 4 of the full body fix. So in the very specifics I'm going to teach to you. But yeah, as a VIP, you would really take that, 10 levels deeper. So.
Okay. Well, I'm fighting slumping. Now when I sing, and I still do solos and play the keyboard and play the piano when I do that. When I sing, my alignment's perfect. And I keep trying to remind myself, but then I work over the computer and I slump. So this makes sense what you're saying. So I'm really going to work on my alignment.
So that's really interesting, because there's a lot of diaphragm usage in singing.
Yes, and
when you sing, do you sit or stand?
Either.
Okay. So usually
the last solo I did was about 2 weeks ago, and I was at the piano accompanying myself. So I was sitting. But when you stand, I sing in the choir and everything. So when I stand, yeah, I sense because you pull yourself straight up and you breathe. And actually, when I broke the ball of the shoulder and I was recovering, I did a lot of deep breathing exercises because I'm not going to take narcotics and pain pills. And that really relaxed it and helped it tremendously.
Yeah, well, like you'll learn about in the 4th session, the full body fix, your thoracic alignment. So like from here to here in your spine, the alignment of this and the muscles that are all associated with that you have like oblique slings on the front side and the back. The way all that works together has a lot to do with breathing. So like in our VIP training system, one of the first things we start really teaching is thoracic alignment breathing, which is
Okay.
how to breathe properly through your rib cage and use all the proper muscles. And because that aligns everything else that's attached to the center of your body. So yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And while I was listening to you talk about being a piano major, I'm like, I'm seeing you at the piano doing like posture that would be really, look, you're not thinking about being a biomechanical alignment while you're playing the piano. You're thinking about the music and the song and the notes and all the things that a great musician would think of. So I can see like where that pattern, and that's what happens is like we get into a dysfunctional pattern mechanically and we repeat it and repeat it, repeat it, repeat it. And
Well,
so
no, it
just-
was exercise. It was exercise that hurt the neck. I was in a beauty pageant and my sister decided that I need to take some exercise. And I was going down. I went down and she pulled up on me. And then I ignored it for 5 months until I was flat on my back on a board. And then I continued and I went so I switched my major to I was a second alto, I think. Anyway, I ended up being a lyric soprano and I got a degree in voice. So it was very interesting.
well, sometimes what happens is we think like that event injured us, and it can. There's definitely
And it
impact
could have,
injuries.
but
Like
maybe I was hunching my shoulders. That's why I wear two different pairs of glasses. One stays on my head because when you wear bifocals and trifocals and all this, I discovered it was messing up my neck, and I'm not about to do that.
yeah, doing this. Yeah. Well, you're gonna get a ton of realignment training.
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Good to chat with you. Look forward to seeing you at the Full Body Fix.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Eleanor, hello and welcome. One second here. Okay, you should have a link there to unmute. There we go. Perfect. We should be able to hear you now. Oh, no. You're unmuted, Eleanor, but we're still not able to hear you. So potentially what you need to do is go to where you see the microphone image on the bottom of your Zoom toolbar and click that little arrow and then choose a different microphone where it says select a microphone. See if you can choose a different option, like potentially here, let me give you another link to unmute. We had you unmuted and then this muted again. So click the link to unmute first. I sent you another link to unmute. So first click the link to unmute. And after you've unmuted, then you can play with the microphone setting. Because what happened is you unmuted, so you're good, but you don't probably have the right microphone setting. So we need to have unmute and the right microphone for it to work. So I sent you a link you should see on your screen. It's just like the host asked you to unmute and you click like, okay. You should see that on your screen now. Oh, there you go. Now you're unmuted. So you are unmuted, but so don't click the microphone for it to click the arrow next to the microphone. Like there's like an arrow like this. Click that little arrow and then it'll open a screen and we'll say like select a microphone and you'll have to, my guess is you're going to be using the built-in microphone, internal microphone. You're probably using that unless you're using an external microphone like this here. You're probably using an internal microphone. So you would select internal microphone. Let's try that. If that doesn't work, we can have you type in the chat and then answer your question. So I'm going to bring up Michael, Eleanor, but I will come back to you and at least we'll get your question in the chat. But let's see if you can, we'll keep you unmuted so you can mess around with the settings there. See if you can find select a microphone and then choose internal microphone. And it's okay if you interrupt us while we're talking so we can see if it's working. So try to play with those settings and see if you can figure that out. Okay. And then I'll come back to you. And let's bring up Michael, Dr. Garza. Hello, Michael. Welcome, sir.
And how are you today?
I'm well. And yourself?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much, Robbie. I really appreciate the opportunity to ask a question and enjoy the information that you're sharing. And along those lines, you mentioned the mitochondria. And in my research and my history of different exercise modalities, I ran into a Dr. Mike Frazee in Body by Science, his book. And have you ever heard of the super slow technique?
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I've trained with the creator of that system. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan. Like, I'm not saying it's bad. As long as it's mechanically correct, like it's within the alignment of the body and it's not adding extra stress to the body, I think all exercise is good. And then we have to take the individual into consideration and any disease states or conditions. Like when we look at all that, then we can basically say like, there's no exercise that's bad per se, but if you do super slow training continuously, here, let me back up one step. There's a principle in training in developing your body called specificity, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's basically this whole theory behind the way you train will be the results you get. So for example, an athlete, the best physical activity a tennis player could do is tennis for their tennis game. The best activity a basketball player could do is basketball. The best activity a skier could do is skiing. Right? Why? But there's other things they should do as an athlete, by the way. That's not what I'm saying is, and if you want to get stronger, if you want your biceps to get stronger, you lift the load using the biceps and you're going to get stronger at your biceps. If you want to move slow and be good at maintaining alignment and moving really slow, do super slow training. Right. So you're gonna end up but you're not always gonna move through life like this, right? So it's not a bad thing per se, and it does create additional stress by going really slow. It recruits more muscle fibers going really slow, and the breakdown of the tissue being pulled apart. It is a high stimulus. There's some large benefit to that. But we don't want to just do super, like that could be like one nice little block of training, but you want to move fast, you want to move slow, you want to move moderate, you want to do like you need variations in your training to get best results.
So thank you for that. And I did that for about a year. And then I bought a tonal machine and a Carol bike. Nice. And I've been using the tonal probably 2 to 3 times a week with different programs. And because it's at my home, I find it very beneficial. And the same thing, and both of these are AI connected. So they have different attributes as far as eccentric modes, chains modes, which I'm sure you're familiar with all those, and various weightlifting. And I'm 70 years old, so I wrote the question about, age-related muscle loss. I'm wondering how your program fits with all this. And I hear that the alignment is very important, which, clearly it is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the foundation. Like the one thing 99% of us can't get wrong and get away with it is the mechanical optimization first. Like you must mechanically optimize your motion, your mechanics, and your muscle function, and your whole neuromuscular function system, right? That's first, and then all the different loads and stress and aerobic activity or mobility, but like it's mechanically sound and optimized first, and then we go into fatigue stimuluses. And like that's the one thing that's missed in exercises, it really much across the board, is like, okay, super slow or heavy or endurance training or different types of sets and supersets and there's so many different ways to come up with that stuff. And it all has its place, and we use a lot of different principles like in our training, but there's the one element that you should never get away from is the biomechanical optimization first. And there's a lot of complexity and layers to that. So like if you do that first and you're really focused there, then you can add the additional load and stress to the body, and you'll get really good results because you're training the tissue to function optimally. So now you don't get injured, right? And because you're not getting it, you can continue along the continuum of adding more load and strength. And then occasionally, like, you should back off too. You should never, like, you're never going to be able to just go stronger. You're going to go stronger, break. so even if you're mechanically optimized, like, you're not going to be able to just stronger. You're going to hit your physiological window and plateau, so to speak. And that's the time that you change training principles. So instead of just training with one principle, you alter the type of load and stimulus, do a different specificity so that you stimulate your body differently. So now it's more of an endurance track. Now you get results this way, and you stress the tissues this way, you stress it. So you end up developing a very comprehensive strength. And like, that's what we do in our VIP training system. We have an initial training system, then we have our advanced training system, and then we have multiple training cycles in our advanced training system to be able to stress and load. And then we have weeks where we push more, then we have weeks where we back off and do like mobility and conditioning exercise, and we push forward. So that's the secret sauce. And that's like the best way is it's not linear. You should have what we call periodized, which basically means using different cycles of progression, different modalities of strength training and conditioning to get the ultimate best result. Like that is the best. That's the best.
I'm signed up for your 5-session course, and I look forward to, what is after that. And, is it a more individualized training?
Yes. Well, so we're all humans. So we have a continuum and a spectrum and a foundation that we should all develop. And so I instruct and I teach like a phase 1 biomechanical optimization, and you learn that. And one individual is going to struggle with something with their shoulder. And then, the physical therapist who will be connected with you will give you any level of support you need to be able to get you through any areas that you might have as a sticking point. But then everyone's following the same human optimization system, but certain individuals are going to need more help here, other individuals more help here, and that's where we get personalized and we adjust exercise, change exercise, do things like regress, make the exercise not as difficult, make the exercise harder. So we give some specific instruction that way, but we're creating optimal human function. Then we go on to our advanced training where we have different training cycles, and it's the same type of thing where you need individualization, we give it to you, but we're all human. We all have shoulder, we all have a spine, we all have a pelvis. So there's certain 90% of it is actually the same, but we're all going to get hung up on different spots. And then one of the things that we do that's super individualized is we actually measure your body in your joint and tissue ranges of motion and to the actual degree in inch. We find to the actual degree, like where all your mobility deficiencies are. And then you do mobility exercise to target those specific areas. So it's opening up tissues that are tight and pulling you out of alignment. And each individual VIP has their own scores for their mobility, and then mobility exercises that are prescriptive to where their deficiencies are at. So we do all of that. Yeah.
Sweet. Well, my gratitude to both you and the doctor, and I'll sign off here, and I look forward to telling my wife about this, because we both sounds like we can use what you've got to offer.
Awesome. Yes, sir. Well, I look forward to seeing you both at the Full Body Fix.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome, my friend. Make it a wonderful weekend.
Yourself as well.
Thank you. All right. Much love to each and every one of you in attendance. It's been so great to spend this hour and a half with you. I know you've gained a lot from this, and I've had a great time here connecting with you. And I'm very much, and now my Alexa's talking to me. Oh, Eleanor, thank you, Dr. Garza. We want to make sure, did we get the microphone figured out? No, okay. So why don't you write in the chat, and thank you, Dr. Garza, for bringing her up on screen. If you would type in the chat your question, and then we'll respond to you.
Well, I'm gonna take while Eleanor is typing. So something very important that Michael said, about the muscle loss. This is something that is gonna happen to everyone, as we start to age. But the way that we can prevent that muscle loss from developing or from actually happening is by moving the muscle. So the muscle loss is not because you're aged, so now I don't have any muscles. If we have that same ideology, that means that as you get older, you cannot get stronger because your muscle is losing. And actually, the reason why we lose muscle is because the body is not working, the body is not using that muscle. And the way the body works is, okay, the muscle uses a lot of energy. I'm not using that muscle, so I'm just gonna take it away. And usually what happens is the muscle gets turned into fat. So that, as an orthopedic surgeon, we see some patients where we go into, a surgery and we find that the muscle is, we call it fat infiltration. So it's like, you're trying, instead of having all muscle fibers, it has a lot of fat tissue between the muscle fiber. And that happens because you stop using that muscle. So definitely, like Sherry was saying, like, I need the exercise. Yeah, we all need some sort of exercise. How much exercise, if it's gonna be too much, if it's gonna be less, that all depends on what we want, right? Like, what is the goal? But yeah, definitely, if we want to stop that muscle from decreasing, we want to use that muscle because the body is gonna make this activation and say like, okay, saying like, okay, I need that muscle, so I'm not gonna take it away. Hey, fat fibers, get away from the muscles, we still use that muscle. So that is how the body actually works. So just something important, that Michael came up, and that is a great question.
And then Eleanor's, thank you, Dr. Garza. And then Eleanor's question is, on your point, since Cheryl asked a question that was directly related to what you just shared, then I'll go back to Eleanor's question. So can we rebuild muscle loss? Absolutely. So as I say, as long as your heart is beating and blood is flowing through your veins, you can increase mobility, strength, stamina, stability, balance, all those things. So absolutely. They have very solid research with tremendously positive results on 90s, people in their 90s, gaining muscle and getting much stronger. And, it's all about how you do it. And the way you do it is, again, start with biomechanical optimization, really keep that foundation of keeping great alignment and letting that lead in. And that's what keeps you safe and keeps you gaining the right type of muscle and the right type of functionality. So now I'm going to go to Eleanor's question. She said, how can I determine the 10% more when I have not the complete filling in my ankles? And she also said, use of the ankle versus standing totally on it alone. Okay, so many, okay. And you're welcome, Graham. Okay, so one of the things, and it is complex, and you're going to get some really good takeaways, or as I like to call them, take forwards from our very first session of the full body fix, which is all about feet and ankles. But first of all, and Dr. Garza can ask you about, first of all, you need to make sure that your ankle is in a condition of how much you can start loading and stressing and that type of thing. Because if you have, for example, like a fracture, you're not going to want to put load and stress on the bone and on the tissues, right? And most orthopedic doctors will basically, partly for liability reasons, also is don't use the ankle at all because we want the bone to heal, and it's just not worth you putting any stress for the bone to fracture worse. So basically any good orthopedic doctor will tell you that. As a biomechanist, I'm yeah, but the bone has some strength. depending on the break. Like if the break is really bad, then like 0. But if you have some structural integrity there, then you could do like a next to nothing motion, right? Like, you know, some ankle pump, some motion, no load, that type of thing. And it really depends on where you're at. So Eleanor, we have to figure out like what is the condition of your bone, number one. Like, do you have a break or anything like that first? So Dr. Garza, please interrupt or anything that you want to add to that. But first we need to see like, is your bone currently not broken? The break was total. Okay, so how much has your bone healed? And has it healed? Is it 100% healed? The actual bone, has a doctor told you that it's healed, or is it still the metal is a raw? Okay, so you've had a surgery. Now, has your doctor told you that you can be full weight bearing? Have they told you, okay, now you can be full weight bearing without a boot, without a cast on the foot and ankle? Have you now been cleared to be full weight bearing on the foot and ankle? And I guess how long ago was this? I was released to total weight bearing. Okay, great. Awesome. Okay. So in that case, so now we can have the next conversation. Like, okay, what do you do? So, you know, you need to have, like, if this is my foot, this is the front side of your lower leg, right? This is your calf. This is the bottom of your foot. Like when we reach like this is called plantar flexion. This is called dorsiflexion when we come back like this. You need to have good motion in these ranges of motion. If you don't, then right away, like you can't strength train something that doesn't really have much more mobility, right? So we need to make sure you have enough mobility. So you can simply do exercises where you like pull your foot back and stretch the tissue, push the tissue forward. You want to get that tissue more pliable. You want to get its elasticity going again. You want to improve the collagen. So you can stretch, you can do massage, you can roll it, you can do self-applied massage. So that's reforming and preparing the tissue for what we're going to do next. Other motions you're going to want to, and by the way, I teach you all of this in session 1 of the full body fix. So we want to be able to do inversion. So like this is where you'd pick up, like if this is the big toe, you pick up the inside and then you pick up the outside, eversion. So you want to be able to do full ranges of motion like that. So first element is these major ranges: plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion. So, and likely, you know, having a condition like that, I basically guarantee you, like if you do 20 of these, you're going to be burning in the tissues here. So that's metabolic activity. That's a stimulus. So now thinking back to the chart I shared with you today, go to like, well, where's your like 10%? We don't want to stay just comfortable, but 10% past comfortable. So go into the burn, go into some of the activity and let yourself just kind of find that arbitrary mark of where what the right thing is for plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, inversion, eversion, and do, you know, back and forth ranges of motion, and then do your inversion, eversion, and start like every other day. You could do, again, listen to your body first and what I'm telling you second to find your reps, but you might be like 10 and forward and back to start with, and then 10 of these, and you might do 3 sets. And then grow to like 12 and then 15. And every other day you would do these motions for like 3 sets. Then you can start to add load to it where you can put a resist. And again, I'm going to teach you all of these in the first session, the full body fix. So I won't go too deep here because you're going to get these actual exercises with my exact detail instruction. You're going to get all of this by attending the full body fix. So, so then you can strengthen the ankle by going with a resistance band pulling out from each direction. Again, I have this in actual video. I give it to each participant at the full body fix. So that's kind of the way that I would think. Then that progresses into like standing and walking. And because you have better stability from an isolated standpoint, now you're going to have better stability standing and walking. And then that can grow into to other motions. And then eventually you can go on to unstable surfaces, like having a good shoe and foot support, and going into walking in sand or rocks where you have to stabilize and walk carefully. Now you're neuromuscularly retraining the balance and stability into your ankles. So, and then we start to get into light forms of strength training on that part of your body. And so you build up to where like these isolated levels of exercise build into better, like complex motions, like walking and standing and lunging and, you know, all these different positions. But that's what your spectrum would look like in this. Each step of the way, you stay within your 10% of comfortable, right? That's what you do. So the first thing you want to do is those motions that we talked about here. So between now and then, get that started, and then the full body fix will give you some more specifics. And then if you choose to become a VIP, then we can go into the whole full gamut of programming specifically for your ankle and calf and everything you need to fully rehabilitate. And as a closer, I'm going to take a quick look at the chat. The break was total, surgery March last year. I do, yeah, my balance is not always good because of lack of feeling. Yep. Yeah, which is why it's good to like walk in a safe area, not like outside and on rocks, okay, but walk barefoot like in the house and type of thing, to feel and do different exercises and motions. Barefoot is really, really good idea.
Yeah, and also, Eleanor, the balance is, you know, a little bit more complex because it's not only related with the ankle, it has to do a lot of knee strength, hip strength, core strength. So it has to do a lot of many things. But yeah, definitely, you know, as you start to increase muscle with not only on the ankle, but in all overall body, you're getting more proprioception, you're able to feel, you're able to react faster, and that helps a lot with balance. And yeah, definitely, if you're not, you know, like Robbie was saying, so if you're not walking correctly because there is some pain or there's you know, like some stiffness, the other side of the body is gonna get some, you know, pain because it's trying to compensate on, you know, the left side, on the right side, because the right side is not moving correctly. So that is one of the things to see, like, okay, what is going on, what is happening, measuring your body to see where that deficiency is, and trying to fix and trying to work both muscles or both sides of the body correctly. That way we can avoid some of that pain that is happening on other sides because of compensating.
Yeah. And again, you'll learn a lot about all of that at the full body fix. And then we take it 10 plus levels, 100 levels deeper if you become a VIP. But you're going to learn a ton of like awesome stuff at the full body fix. So I look forward to seeing you there, Eleanor, and look forward to seeing all of you there at the full body fix. Great connecting with you today. Make it a very healthy weekend. Enjoy your weekend, and much love to each and every one of you. And we'll see you at the full body fix. Take care. See you soon.